Good morning, everybody. I think it's morning. Yeah, 11:25 a.m. on Sunday. Sunday. I'm here, and so is Rhett, and there is her. That's my African gray parrot, Rhett. She's a lot of fun. She really needs just change in her life. She has a fairly limited life, but she gets to look out the windows. We have dogs that run around a lot. There's a lot of activity, but and we didn't like. She's an African gray. I believe she was born in captivity. I don't know. We got her when she was about 5 years old. My wife saw that somebody was selling a bird and all its cage and all its stuff. And she had always wanted one, so she went and picked her up. She's so mean when we first got her. Like, I mean, she loved to bite. Um, but anyways, she still will bite from time to time. I'm about the only one that can really pick her up regularly. Um, Other people can pick her up, but it's just a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. Um, anyway, so we have a problem. And it's a kind of a hidden problem, but so right now I have a bug, right? But you would never guess it. I could easily push this and be like, hey, like it's fixed, QA figured out, and because you go and it looks good. It's good. That's so good. And not only that, but in all likelihood, in 2026, the requirements even that tell you what you're supposed to do probably would be very limited. So it'd even be hard for QA to even know what they're supposed to be testing. But I know what I'm supposed to be doing, and I have a bug. I have a bug. I have a bug. So basically, the idea is when I have this guy here should be showing up right here. Like that's its programmed. Like if we right click on this, we inspect it, we can see. I don't know why my computer's so slow. My computer is just getting slower and slower and slower. And I would think it was something to do with the computer specifically, except that at my job, my computer there is also getting slower and slower and slower. I think Windows has just got issues. But anyway, so we see that we actually specifically put this thing to 200 to the left. This app is element, right? Is it element? Maybe element's not the right word. The DOM item, DOM node. This DOM node is specifically being put to 200 to the left and 0 to the top. And then like this guy here is 0 to the left and 0 to the top. See, this is configured to go there. And so when I go here and I'm looking at this one, fortunately I did add something to that man, my computer is just crippled right now. I mean, it's just even trying to do these animations is just bringing it to its knees. But as you can see, like this one's rotating around the y-axis, and then this one's rotating around the x-axis. So when I hit update, we'll be looking at the one where we know we're looking at the right one because it's the one, and that is so wild. This does happen sometimes with this smaller view. Um, but when we hit update, and then we go here, and then back to here. So that other thing's a bug. I'm not worried about it. There's probably a workaround if I want to, like maybe I can, anytime you leave this page, it goes back to maximized, or maybe it's probably a delay issue, and it's not consistent, so it might even be like a development only issue, right? Oh no, oh that's pretty consistent. All right, so it's probably a timing issue. I believe that we figure out what the width of this is supposed to be based on the Actually, I'd be very interested to see why this is so the canvas is fine. I suspect the canvas when it was first built and when ThreeJS first did their thing, they the canvas was probably like very narrow, and then 3JS built out everything based on the size of the canvas because I think that's kind of how it's configured to do it, and then the canvas got bigger later, and that's my guess. Those are the words that I put together. But anyway, but I did notice that while I was coding, a bunch of stuff would get confusing to me. And the reason 99% sure that the reason is I'm getting confused. Okay, so these are the things I need to do. Um, but and what I'm going to do is I'm going to close everything else other than this. I know I need the other things, but I just like I'm a bit. What are the Gen Alpha kids saying? I'm a bit overstimmied. I got some overstimming going on. I'm overstimulated by all those tabs. So I am reducing my cognitive load by reducing the amount of stimulation that's hitting me. And it's kind of wild because like these are kind of issues that you just weren't even conceivable when I first started coding, right? When I first started coding, you were coding and then like that was it. That's all you could do on the screen. Like that's all there was there. So you were either coding or you were looking at the results of your code. That was how it worked for me on my Commodore's, I mean, on my VIC 20 computer. But today, there's so many things going on, including a dozen tabs and all kinds of stuff happening and stuff like that. But so the reason I started getting confused is because in here we have ST visualizations. And this is the div width. So that helped me a lot actually. And so this is the ST width, but it's for the div, not the ThreeJS. And that's called a visualization. But if we come over here into 3, we also have a thing called a renderer. And the renderer is the thing that puts all the ThreeJS stuff together. And it also has a width. Oh, I can't stand how it does that. So it closed it when I left it. So this also has a width, an ST width. Now, I put this comment here, but I won't be able to see this comment while I'm coding. So when I'm coding and I'm like trying to deal with widths, I always have to take a bit of a cognitive rabbit hole, I guess, and go down and figure out which width am I dealing with, or and even what like the meanings of these widths are. Um, so I don't want that. Like that is like in the future as things go, this cognitive load of trying to figure out what width I'm talking about is going to be a problem. It would be a problem like um, it would not be a problem if it wouldn't be a problem if we didn't have two different kinds of widths, but we have two different kinds of widths. So now we kind of have to um, we kind of have to well, we don't have to, but it would probably be very helpful to actually change this name in some way that's useful. And one of the first things that came to mind was container. So taking this ST visualization um, interface and changing this to ST container width, HT container height. But so then I kind of imagine myself in the context of the overall visualization. And gosh, yeah, no, it's working. Um, so the overall everything container width makes a lot of sense. It's the container, it's the element, it's the DOM. But then if you kind of put yourself into the render context, it's the exact same thing, right? Like like container makes total sense to call it container width because it's the canvas or all that. But then it was just like, okay, so I have to come up with a word, right? So we are talking, I think we moved into a whole different subject, which I think is super important, but most people aren't aware, and I wasn't really aware for the vast majority of my career, but it's like a linguistics thing, right? Like we have a word, but the word is overloaded now. Now there's two different things. This word means the same thing. So then like you have to go, okay, well, contextually, how easy is it to determine what this means via if I'm in the context? And if it's so super simple, if the cognitive currency required to come up with the difference, like let's say you're talking about tall. Okay, we're talking about a tall ant versus a tall building, right? An ant is a little insect, right? We obviously know that a very tall ant is probably like if it was a centimeter tall, that would be a very, very tall ant, but it would be a very short building. So we don't have to say building tall, ant tall. We can derive from the context that the building tall is probably something like 1,000 feet, and then an ant tall is like a centimeter, which would be an enormous size ant, at least here in the United States. At least in Georgia. I don't know. Maybe there's places here where they have enormous ants, but um, but that doesn't work because this context is very similar. The renderer and the visualization context are very similar. So when you're in there, it's really easy to sort of get lost in that. So what do we do? Well, I think the smart thing to do, and this is not an option, this is a luxury object. This is a luxury option that's only available to those people who are on like working on the code all by themselves or are on a team where there's only a couple people and you can really everybody is on the same page. So if you change that, but so I think canvas width is a better word. Now, if we were in 2016 right now, I would be totally against this move. I'm telling you right now, this would be a disaster of a move. It is the reward results ratio does not work in this. But now with types, this is where TypeScript shines. Because with TypeScript, and this is where unit tests used to shine, and still could, but there's no reason because their role has been taken over by TypeScript. Um, but with the unit tests, you could have like hundreds of unit tests and have a really good coverage, and it would likely find all the places where this you could run your unit tests and it would break everywhere where this changed it. So that was really great. But now with TypeScript, it will the TypeScript transpiler. I'm assuming those are the right words, but the whatever it is that Angular does to convert this code into JavaScript, that process, which I believe is called transpiling, that uh, will catch the same thing. So you don't really need the unit tests for that. Like that was to me always like I used to go back and forth on whether I thought we should do unit tests in a place. And then at one point I went all in. I was like, yes, we absolutely need unit tests. And that's because of things like this. But then when TypeScript came out, I was like, yeah, there's really their main value is no longer there. Now, does that mean in 5 years something might change where unit tests become incredibly valuable again? Maybe. I don't know. There's just no telling. So anyways, we're gonna hit save, and what we should get is a ton of breakages. And here's where it probably like makes more sense to make this bigger. And like growing up in like the 1960s, no, 1970s and 1980s, like the goal was always to come up with one way of doing things, an effective way, perfect that, and then dominate. But that just doesn't work anymore. That is not like an effective approach, and it's because um, the I don't think is an effective approach anymore because everything changes too fast, and there's just too many things changing. Um, so you just can't work. But so let's read this. I always get very, very confused. So this is telling me that in my renderer service on line 68, there's a problem, and that's that I'm trying to set the start with the ST width instead of the canvas. And to me, this is one of those things that's just so hard because um, like I'm gonna have massive benefits from this, right? Like every time I go to code in the future and I see canvas width, I'll be like, oh, okay, this is the ThreeJS canvas, right? I don't have to say ThreeJS canvas because there's no other canvas. There's only one canvas. So it's my ThreeJS canvas. Maybe in the future there may be maybe I'll use some other library that draws stuff too, and that other will have its own canvas, and then that one will be a different kind of canvas. But at this point, I can't even perceive that. I can't even imagine that happening. All right, so we hit save, and we'll just find the next one. But yeah, it's so hard. It's hard to do like an investment in yourself. Like for example, I uh, exercise all the time, right? Yeah, I invest every time I exercise, I'm investing into my own health. Um, and uh, and then when I walk around, people are like, "Wow, you look good. You look really fit." And it's just like, well, yeah, because I invest in myself. But it's just like you don't really get a nominal, measurable return. It just you, it's just better, and that's kind of how this ends up being. And it can be extremely, but can be not worth doing if you're not doing TypeScript. So if you're doing pure JavaScript, like let's say you're working in Node and you're just doing JavaScript, do not do this. I would not do this for on my some of my Node projects that are are there, just because it is so hard to tell um, when you break things, especially like in this situation, because this will on line 189, this will actually create a width attribute if it doesn't exist in JavaScript. So like in TypeScript, it'll catch it. It'll be like, hey, there's no width on this. But in JavaScript, it'll create one. So then you end up with a whole bunch of objects that have like the width and the height, um, and the canvas width and height. Because there's absolutely nothing illegal in JavaScript, but it is absolutely legal and configurable to be illegal or not illegal. So was that it? Was that really the whole? Did that fix everything? Just a couple places? I thought there was going to be at least like 10 places. So I guess that is a kind of a good indicator that I'm overestimating the size of this application um, at this point, which is so easy to do. Like having a good grip on what the size is pretty helpful. Okay, and I'm starting to remember that anything, man, it's so wild how jaggedy all this is. And I'm pretty sure that's because my CPU is getting overrated. But maybe I didn't make it, maybe I'm updating on every ref, re, um, animation frame. So like JavaScript runs on a cycle in a circle. This is something that is just so weird because when you try to explain it to people, they have like almost an immediate and sometimes even like a violent like pushback. So you're like, hey, JavaScript, it runs on a cycle. It runs through all its commands, gets to the last command, and then it looks for the beginning of the next set of commands. And then it does that, and it just keeps doing that. But it had, once every 60th of a second, it tries to stop everything and update the screen because our eyes can capture things once every 60 seconds. So updating the screen more often than once every 60 seconds is not helpful. Um, but the problem is it doesn't always. So when you make animations, if you just say, hey, just add one on every request animation frame, you're going to end up with something kind of jaggedy, kind of like what we have here, where it's not quite smooth. It's smoother now than it was, but a minute ago it was just kind of and all that, and that's because, um, well, that could very well be because I'm updating on request animation frame. It's a lot better, and it looks a lot better if every request animation frame, instead of just adding some fixed number, you calculate what the next number should be based on the amount of time that's passed, and then you update it that way, and it'll look a lot smoother. I've noticed it on spin, you don't really see it. You can see it a lot more when something's like moving horizontally across. But anyway, so now that went so much easier than I thought. Um, and now this thing is called a um, canvas width and the canvas height. So, here it probably makes sense to change this to canvas now. And we'll see. What I'm saying is that earlier was that I think that it's going to be very clear when I'm working on things in the future that this is the ThreeJS canvas, not the div canvas, not the. Did I not change canvas height too? let's see. Shall we? Um, that it'll be very clear to me that I'm setting the canvas width. Now, I thought about this like a lot yesterday and this morning while I was walking my dogs, and I do spend a lot of time when okay, if you watch me at all, if you follow me at all, you know I code a lot. Like I almost start my day, my almost every single day, 7 days a week, I start my day coding, writing some sort of code for some reason, and usually it's my ThreeJS this project. I almost end every single day coding with my simple ThreeJS project. Actually, there's another project that I do on my own. Um, but like I code all the time. Probably a very, very typical day for me is like literally like somewhere between 4 and 8 hours of keyboard coding. So, so I have a tremendous amount of experience because I've been doing that literally for. I was born in '68. I'm 58 years old. I started coding when I was 10. I started coding a lot at that point. So for 46 years, I've been coding somewhere between 4 hours and 8 hours a day on average. Okay, so that's just the thing. I don't know what to tell you about that. But additionally, when I'm not coding, I spend a lot of time thinking about coding. And I will tell you that you do not want to do that with your work code. Your work is work. I mean, work can be great, like where you can feel really good about the coding you do at work, and it can make you feel good, but it doesn't most of the time. Most of the time, you're there working because they need to pay someone to do what it is that a lot of people like to do for free. So if they're giving you money to code, it's in all likelihood, 99 times out of 100, it is because they need something done that they can't get someone else to do because for whatever reason. Um, so I don't really like to spend my off hours thinking about my work code because it's like not a pleasant experience, work code. But personal code is a lot of fun to think about. And so then like I get to like sort of overwhelm my overall enjoyment of or like my meta score of software development. I get to overwhelm that with positive coding experiences as opposed to negative coding experiences. But anyway, so now I think um, I think edit dimensions versus canvas width tells me that there's a bit of a cognitive load here. Like, okay, so these are like my properties, um, my 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 update properties, right? They have nothing to do with the screen. It's just the properties that I'm storing. So, maybe I need to do like a rename there. I don't feel like I have a big enough, like I only have like, there's only four things here. For we're dealing with the position, the left, right position, and the top and or the width and the height. So that's four things. I don't usually like to start to break things down into more discrete words that are a little bit more descriptive and or folders or whatever until I get at least to four. So we're at four, so I'm starting to think about it, and I'm thinking that these should be update properties, not edit dimensions. It's the properties for update. But I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm pretty close, though. I think that's what we're going to want to do. All right, so now we did that, and I remember having like a set of three comments for myself. There we go. So we need to create a signal for top and left. That's right, because we have an edit visualization height signal and edit visualization width signal. So maybe that should be property or something. It has really been bothering me that I'm using two different words for the same thing. Because again, it's sort of the reverse of what I was saying before. I'm gonna have to say, okay, is there a difference between edit property? Why am I blah blah blah? So increased cognitive load. All right, so I'm just going to copy and paste how we did that, mostly because like I used to really like to reinvent the wheel every time, but unfortunately, that leads to very inconsistent implementations, and you really want to have consistent implementations. Um, and that's you want consistent implementations. Again, it's a cognitive load thing. Like once you come up to speed on that implementation, you can just keep reapplying that context, I guess is what you have. Sort of build a context of understanding of the code that you're working on. And so if you use the same pattern everywhere, then when you get in there, you can come up to speed faster. And it's a maintenance advantage. It could be a bit of a maintenance disadvantage in that, like, as you copy paste things, it's easy to miss little pieces. So this is a perfect example. So that's weird. So that's okay. So this is not right. That's not the one. So that's a higher signal, right? So the presentation mode is like a presentation. This is like an up, update signal um, in general. And then this is property specific update change configs. And I don't know why, but for some reason I find it to be easier, like if I, in my mind, to sort of create that sort of coding context if like sort of the higher level things are come first and then the lower level things. So this is a higher level. This is the this is a signal that's for high level, like, hey, we're presentation. It's like, and then this is a signal that's for specific properties, like who cares about this specific property. Now, what's weird is, okay, so actually both of these are, that actually was completely wrong. Both of these are high level properties. Now, I thought I had okay, actually it looks like, well, this, maybe all those signals are in a service. So again, like, it wasn't that big of a deal, but there was this edit visualization height signal. Okay. Okay, that is wrong. Okay, this is that, I mean, I get that, but that's not actually right. This is actually this is a property specific um, signals. Right, so this is our width signal, this is our height signal, this is our navigation signal. Okay, so we did not do it like the way you're supposed, the way I've been moving my newest way, which is like this. Okay, so, and again, okay, so that goes under here, right? So I want my, and I don't know why, it's probably just some sort of thing that I picked up at some point, but it seems like the higher level, more um, general communication schemes should come first, and then the more specific communication schemes should come afterwards. That's just for some reason in my brain that feels right. But I could also see the other way around, saying, hey, I want all the little ones and then I want the big one, like the more general ones. I want all the specific ones first and then the big ones so that I can get the context first and then understand. But I don't know. I like this better. Now with these property ones, it looks like I decided to not do this thing, this underscore pattern, and I really do like this pattern. I think this pattern is a better pattern. and there'll never, ever, 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 ever be an easier time to do this. So first thing we need to do is we need to make this an underscore and this one an underscore. So the underscores are the ones, this is a really old. Um, okay, so that is routing. So I think that was why I was calling things browser before. Um, it'll never be easier to do this. Like this is going to be, it'll just get harder all the time. Um, so this is going to break things all over the place. And not only that, but uh, some of those things that we actually want to stay broken. Um, and so the this is one of those, like, it's not the destination, it's like the trip. Like this is kind of thing, if you try to go straight to the what you want, you're probably gonna it's gonna be very difficult not to break things. But anyway, so in this update layout service, it's telling me that this is what broke everything, I think. I think that's the way to contextualize this. And then this one is telling me that this is where it's broken. So I want to go to this is where it's broken. Okay, so we know both of these need underscores now. And this is exactly how I want this to work, right? I want this publish to happen on this signal, on this underscore serial. This is an indication that it's an internal signal. Now it's weird because I thought something was using this signal. So I don't understand why this didn't break something. Does it still work? Nope, does not work. So the transpiler kind of let me down here. Yeah, so this is what I just fixed, I think. Right? This is old. Yeah. Wow. All right. So the question is like, okay, why is it broken? Oh, is it showing anything in the next step is always and for some reason I think we must be in some sort of infinite loop or something. I couldn't right click. I don't know why. And then we're not getting anything here. We're getting this little thing down here. Dev tools. So yeah, something is just completely broken in here. It's not even willing to let me look at the. Okay, here we go. Pending tasks. So somehow at some point we have just created an absolute, it looks like we've created an absolute, oh wait, oh, maybe as well. Okay. Oh, okay, so it's broken just an update, which makes sense because we scoped that one to, and then here's where everything just goes to hell in a handbasket. We're just getting errors like crazy at this point. Oh, it's probably not catching the fact that something changed um, in a template. So that's kind of a bummer. I'm wondering, and this is an opportunity, right? What we've just run into is an opportunity, and we're experiencing something in a relaxed, safe environment that is fun. I'm having fun right now, and interesting, which is so much better than trying to deal with this kind of thing, like when you're getting paid and people are waiting on you, and your friggin' Teams is blowing up, and you're getting emails left and right, and everyone's freaking out. And in reality, at work, it's the absolute worst times that everyone starts to just flip out. So wild. That is really neat how robust Angular is. What am I waiting for? So I'm still waiting for it to build. It is wild though. Will this actually refresh, I wonder? See, we're still just in the browser. So now if I force it to go look at the server, will it die? So I haven't experienced something like this probably with Angular in about 4 years, maybe 3 years. It used to be common, very, very common. Like things would break, and then like the transpiler just wouldn't catch it, and then you would end up, um, if you restarted, then it would break. And man, that was just a nightmare scenario for a lot of developers because you would end up, you have it all working. It works perfect, looks good, commit it, push it, test everything, all looks good. Then turn off your computer, go home for the night, feeling good about yourself, come in the next morning and everybody's saying, "Wait, you broke everything. Everything's broken. The 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 application won't even come up." And you're like, "What?" And then you try to bring it up and sure enough it won't come up and you're like, "What is going on?" And it was like, "Well, yeah, cuz the transpiler would catch some things while it was building." I think that may have gone away with Ivy. Like there was this thing called Ivy that they were talking about all the time. And that might be the thing. But right now I'm just waiting for this build to happen. That was sort of like another thing. Like if you were to go back to like 1996 or something, like you would code for like 10, 12 hours straight. But it was just like you never had to wait for something like this. Like you'd just be working the whole time. And then at some point, these builds and stuff started just taking forever. And then like when I worked at DLA, if you made one change in the code on their Angular application, it would literally take it 5 minutes to retranspile everything. And you're just like, oh my gosh, see, that did not get caught on real time. This, like I said, this is the first time I've had to experience this with Angular since um, probably in 3 years, where like in runtime it did catch it, but but restarting it did catch these issues. And I'm pretty sure that this is probably because of that whole scoped thing. I added a new way of doing things. So, anyways, so let's read this a little carefully. So this is occurred in the template component app layout view component. So it's telling me that it's in the template of this component, and it's saying that I inject the component on line 17 of the TypeScript. Now, what is this one? Okay, so this is the actual error in app a layout view component. I kind of wish they did that the other way around. I kind of wish they would um, show where like the last thing I would like them to show is where the actual bug is, and then before that, I would like them to show the cause. I mean, I like this. This was really good. I just wish they were reversed. But I do remember from a second ago that we added an underscore, and I do know that, and I no, I think I just zoomed out. Control add underscore and add underscore, and I do know that I do not want. So this will break again when I make that private. And this is like like I'm on a new path. I've never done this before because I haven't really worked with signals a lot. And this pattern is new to me. I doubt it's a new pattern, but kind of acts like that is it. Oh no, it looks like we do it. What is this one? Okay, that was just telling me where, and then that's that. Okay, so we did fix those. Okay, this is good. And the thought that literally just crossed my mind was, I'm so glad I have end-to-end tests. Like the end-to-end tests are like the fact that I know that every kind of basic functionality is tested. Okay, looks like that part is over. Let's see, is this still red? I don't know if we still have console error. I don't think we do. I think that was old, but this is crazy. Maybe it's not old. Google Chrome is not responding. All right, I'm going to kill the browser. And just to be clear, like right now, what I'm thinking to myself is, thank goodness I'm not dealing with this at my job because that's so much more stressful than on this fun stuff. It's crazy how unresponsive my computer's become. All right, cancel. So it knows it got crashed last time. Goes 4200. Boom. Everything seems to be fine until we get into. Let's get this console up and running. Let's actually attach it to the bottom here. All right. And we'll look at the console and go to update. Okay, I do not see errors. Let's go back. Yeah, everything seems to be fine. I think so I had to start. So just keep in mind, I made changes. The change failed. Like the change caused a crash, but the transpiler or whatever it is that converts it to JavaScript for during development, um, that part did not catch the problem. It was a problem in the template. So I had to kill the server, restart the server, and then everything seemed to be fine. But when I reloaded, something was really messed up in the middle there. So I had to, so I ended up having to restart the browser, and now everything seems to be fine. So that's just like kind of a thing just to keep in mind. All right, so the next step of this refactor here is to turn this into a private. So, and to be very clear, no, not private. We want to then create a read-only, wrong one, a read-only public signal. So just like I did that. So now I'm going to have a read-only. I want to do it by hand to try to remember. And again, and I think that this is probably one of the most important things. If you're coding today in 2026, you are probably using artificial intelligence to help extend your brain. If nothing else, because if you kind of have no choice now, right? Because it used to be you just search on Google, try to find other people's experiences, and then copy them. But unfortunately, today, that's not an option because when you go search on Google, you're going to get AI. So you have to deal with AI. AI can make you dumb. It really can. It can make you really stupid, or it can make you smart. It's just like you go to a fancy buffet in Vegas and you can eat chocolate cake and ice cream and that's your right, or you can eat healthy food, whatever you think healthy food is. It's your choice. That's how this is. Like it's our choice. I'm choosing to use AI to make me smarter, and so that means I'm trying to do things where I get the answer from AI, and then every time I need that answer, I try to remember it or I try to use it in some way. So I'm typing this out for memory purposes, and then I'm going to copy this one line here, this one thing. It's like, well, why not copy the whole thing? I'm copying this one thing because I want to make sure that the name stays right and it won't necessarily um, stay right. All right, so now we're going to go with our signal. And boom. And then it's like this dot underscore. And then signal dot as read only. I really like this pattern. And then let's do the same thing with the next one. I'm gonna try this time. I'm going to try really hard to do it just from memory. Read. I can kind of see the other one up there, but and then this is. I'm just going to copy this name, If I got it wrong, I want to get it wrong consistently because I find that it'll be easier to fix. And then this is going to be a signal. So signals are read-only by default too, so I don't understand why we have to put the read-only there. I do like it though because I find that it's um, like it's easier cognitively to go, oh, okay, this is a read-only. But I think by default it might be a read-only anyways. But anyways, that's something I would do. And I don't think that's something that most developers or most people who are like demonstrating coding, like trying to do a coding tutorial or whatever, they avoid those little sort of like this is how you sort of hone the craft. They're just like, okay, this is what you should do, you know. And there's definitely a time and a place for that too. Um, I guess I guess I'm sort of presenting this in more of like a historically um, wrong one, a historically um, would be more like how you would teach a person who was like a apprentice or something like that. Like this is like you just go out, you just do it, and um, then you're done. It's so weird to me that this one is muted, but this one isn't, and I guess it is. Okay, so that one's definitely not supposed to be private. I don't know why I made that private. That's just supposed to be read only. All right, so now I guess the muted means that I don't know what that muted means. Oh, I guess it knows it didn't was never used because it's private. So the only place you could use it. All right, so now I'm curious if it breaks when we do it this way because we've made something that this template is supposed to use a private read only, and it seemed to work. Now, I wonder if we were to re like compile it, if it would break, and I just don't feel like it right now. But what I think I can do is I can hit this back button here, and I think I can get back to that template. Oh, good. It did catch the IDE caught it. So Angular did not catch it. The transpiler or whatever converts this into JavaScript did not catch it because you see it's still building. Now I wonder if I had a save in here if it'll catch it. Yeah. So it did not catch it till I went into the template and hit saved. Save. Okay, now we should be back. So we've done a bunch of refactoring on this. Um, and apparently we've broken things. Did not expect that. That actually surprises me. Console. And now I'm not even sure if it's really broken. I'm almost feeling like what needs to happen is I actually need to restart. I might need to restart the whole transpiler. Maybe something's broken. Yeah, that's wild. Inspect console. And this is kind of like the thing is like I think most of these issues are things that I'm running into because I changed that coding scheme where I have scoped services now. I used to have like 4 root services almost exclusively, and now, wow, that broke everything. Um, but now I just don't have that. Oh, look at that. Calculate aspect ratio is infinity. Yeah, so something went horribly wrong. I don't know what it is. So first thing to do, unfortunately, because it takes forever, is to stop the server and restart it. And once you start running into little things like this, that's kind of a good indication that you're like sort of on the bleeding edge instead of just on the trailing edge. Um, you're right up front. You're starting to run into problems that people don't see very often. Um, did it restart? Okay, did I reload? That was so fast, how fast it built that though. That's so well that this broke, and it's broken in such a interesting way. Um, this is where the width is set at 21. Yeah, it's pretty wide. I really did not expect this to break this way. Let's see, do we even have a canvas? Yeah, see, our viewer has no width or height. So, so my first guess right now is that, oh, interesting. Oh, look, it has a height of 0 though, and a width of 2. All right, so I remember okay, so we updated the width and height, and that looks good. Edit visual height signal, that seems right. So let's go to this service. Uh, no, height signals, height, width. Edit width signal is dimensions width. And then let's go over here. All right, so this is our width signal. This is our height signal. And then it's interesting because like doing this doesn't fix it either. You would think that that would fix it. And the ratio being infinity is like indicative that one of them for some reason has a value and one of them for some reason doesn't. And it appears that the height has no value. So for some reason, this height is just not getting set. Oh, I see. I didn't. You know why it's not getting set? Because I'm not setting it. That's how that works. And that's kind of the downside to copying and pasting. Um, or trying to reinvent the wheel, like trying to remember it the way I was doing it, the other way around. It would have been way better to copy and paste. But I did learn a lot on that, right? Like, okay, like that's just new for me. That was just a new, novel experience. Let's see. Update. There we go. Silly rabbit. So like I know that in like at least 3 of the jobs that I had over like the last 10 years, we would before we were allowed to do any kind of commit, we had to restart the server, which was really good because, or could be really nice because, like at when I was at DLA, it took it like 20 minutes for the server to come up. So you got to have a nice little talk with your friends and stuff like that while that was happening, while you were waiting for everything to come up. Um, all right, so I think we did a lot of really good refactoring. I think we need to get ourselves right back to where we were because and I will say that like what I just did, I think it was very important. So we're back to here. Um, it's very important to refactor as much as you can, as early as you can. Um, that I don't, I, and it's very important to try to stay consistent with your implementations in your application that you're working on. And if you find a better improvement, depending on how long you think that ab it's going to take for that project to be done, it may be in your best interest to, as you move through it, refactor to your better thing. Because it's not really that big of a deal like how I have it now, where there's like kind of two different ways of doing it. One way is to just create the signal and then just populate it and then just listen for it. The other one is to create a private signal, have another signal that's only read only, um, that is public, but it can only read the private signal. So that's really good. That's a really nice thing. And there's two ways. But the reality is that in the next 12 months, a better um, pattern will likely emerge. And then if I just start doing that from that point forward, then I'll have three different patterns that I have in there. And over time, it'll just keep growing and growing and growing until the code is almost impossible. Like you're having to do such a cognitive refactor or a cognitive reset on every two lines of code, because as you move through, it's like, okay, now how do we do it this way? Okay, now how do we do it this way? And you just kind of have to keep going through that process. Whereas, like, if you can go from one set of code to the next, and this isn't always possible, but if you can, um, you can go. You don't have to do that reset every time. You can just move into the next code and then just start coding. Go to the next set of code and start coding. And those are sort of the little I don't want to call it insider, but things like little techniques that people just sort of absorb and just start doing, but they don't ever put words to it, so they can't really explain it. Um, so anyways, tomorrow morning, I guess I'll do this number one, create a signal for top and left. Um, and then that's like kind of another thing, because like sometimes I can just sit down and just knock out work. Like on my Say Hello project yesterday, I just had one of these things. I just knocked it out, um, and it was done. And it's like, oh, I'm just clipping along. The problem with this one is like we are literally like building the foundation of a pyramid type of thing. Like that's a good way to visualize it. That we have this gigantic pyramid, and I'm building the base of this pyramid, and I'm trying to build stuff in this base of this pyramid, guessing what's going to be at the very top of the pyramid 8 layers from now. And I'm getting a lot of those guesses wrong, which, because I'm a human being, right? And I would get them even worse wrong if I was a computer or if I was an AI, as far as I'm concerned. But I'm guessing for this foundation things, and then as I'm coding, I'm realizing, oh crap, no, this isn't going to work. Oh no, this is going to be a real problem. Okay, and I'm refactoring it as I go. But like my other project, my Say Hello project, I'm like 3 sessions away from being done with that one. Even if there was, I actually think I do this signals, the old signals way, where I just expose a signal. I'm private. I don't even know if I do that in that one. And it's fine because it's going to be done. And once it's done, whatever, I probably won't ever make any changes to it again, to the actual code base. And if I do make changes to the code base, it's all a huge contextual lift anyways to try to get my brain into that, pointed at that solution. So, that's where we're at. But tomorrow I'm going to start with creating a new signal for top and left. And let me just try to help myself a little bit more tomorrow before I sign off. So that's going to be on line 49. So then I'll use my keyboard to get my back there. Line 49. 49. That should be dirt simple. I mean, that, depending on, like, I got a lot of sleep this weekend, so it wouldn't surprise me if I have a very difficult time waking up tomorrow morning in time for work. So depending on how that goes, I might literally just be able to do that. But then this one is a weird one because this service is actually where, is that right? I don't know if this is right actually. So when I say left and right, oh, that's right. So the thing that so I have a utility function, a class, and a, a utilities class called, I can't remember what it was called, but we'd found it yesterday, where we um, that has like the okay, these are interfaces that has like the code in it that knows how to place, like I have to give it the component and a service. I can't remember which service. And with that service and that component, it can place the overall div where it belongs, right? So it could, if it belonged here, it knows how to do it. You just have to give it this in the service, and it knows how to inspect the service to get the. I don't know. Actually, you give it the the object. I think it was the renderer object and the um, component, and it'll place it properly. And that's what it does. And it's a different thing. So I don't. So it doesn't really. It won't. It can't listen for signals. It just has to be called with information. So this is an app update layout service, so that's good to me. That's really, I like that because that means that I don't have to worry. I'm so concerned with these properties leaking out into the rest of the application. Um, I want the edit properties only to be for editing, or the update properties. Same thing. Update and edit are synonyms in this context, and I want those to be the same. I want those to stay in their own little area. I don't want them leaking out. So it makes me happy because I don't have to worry about this class, whatever it was, um, doing it. Let me go figure that out. Okay, so we know we have a class. I can't remember where the class was. I do remember this yesterday though. And it knows how to take the TypeScript. I believe it's the renderer. Nope, it's not the renderer, because the render, this is the canvas. See, this just saved me a bunch of um this just saved me a whole bunch of contextual resetting. All right, so we know it's this one, and we know it's ST left, and I remember I was able to pretty easily find it yesterday by doing this, doing a search. Okay, so here's a good example where the spec is a huge distraction, right? So let's go ahead and delete that. And I don't know. Okay, I guess the way to get into this is click on here and then click here and then right click on this and delete it. Move it to the recyclable bin. Okay, so now let's go ahead and go back to our search. So again, we're doing more refactoring, right? We're refactoring away from unit tests by deleting them. This is a very easy refactor, but and delete. Now I'm deleting them because they are more trouble than they're worth at this point. And they're worth nothing. So if they're any trouble at all, they're to be deleted. Okay, so what am I searching on? ST left. All right, so this is where it happens in this biz component layout class. And I'm just gonna, while I'm here, I'm just gonna go ahead and delete this one too. I don't know why, but like just deleting that is such an easy way to get rid of problems. I have problems. All right, so we have to set position. It takes the component and that. All right, so we want to keep this for tomorrow. Do I want to keep this? I do not want to keep this tomorrow. Do I want to keep this? I don't think I want to keep that for tomorrow. Do I want to keep this? No. App layout service. This is where we're going to start tomorrow. This component layout class. This is where I'm going to call this set position for components. Now I'm wondering, I think we already injected the class up here, right? Or not injected, but instantiated the class up here, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so we have this. Go back. So, oh, okay, but we aren't doing that here, unfortunately. So we need it, and then we need that. Oh, and I actually figured it out right there. So we're gonna have to like have another function, and then it gets called anytime these signals get fired, and these signals are primitives, so I don't have to do anything special. If they change, it gets called. If they don't change, it doesn't get called. So if let's say it was 200 and then I change it to 200, it won't. It won't get called. And that's what I want. I don't want it redrawing if it's the same, if the value hasn't changed. But let's say it changed to 201, then it will get called. So that is that. So we don't have to do anything special. We don't have to think about that. And then there's this. Um, then we'll have to create a new function. Let's see, what did I say here? Say comma in a new function. Right, so again, from the top. So we want to create some signals for this. We want to listen to the signals for this as an effect in this service. I don't even know if that's a problem. I've never tried that before. I wouldn't think it's a problem if you to listen to a signal in the service that creates a signal. Um, but maybe that's a problem. I don't think so though. And then we need a new class. I mean a new function that uses this class and passes it in the viz component and the visualization. And if I remember correctly, did we? So I don't know how you get the viz component, how we get this viz component and this visualization. I don't know. If I remember correctly, we added something to get a visualization. Um, the other thing is this is different because normally I'm trying to think of things when there's more than one, but there's only one, and it's all from the edit update. I believe there's a variable in here that we have. Yeah, edit renderer ID, which is a signal. So so that's where we'll get the renderer ID from. I think from the renderer ID we can get the component. I'm not sure. Um, and we can definitely get the ST visualization. I'm not exactly sure we get this, but I'm pretty sure there's a components. Um, let's see. ST components, ST viz component.ts. Yeah, that's not it. Well, that's pretty sure there's like a components service under services. Utilities. Let's see, what's UI? UI service. Entities. Visualization service. What's in this? Does this have a list of components? And then, let's see. I don't think this has. So I don't know where we get the component from. Let's see. Scene. Somebody has a component. Somebody, I know we created something where it has a where it has like a list of components, and I think the first place to look is in the interfaces, I guess. And then I know we have this components interface. So we have our STViz component. So I'm guessing that if I do a search on this, and then add that, I know there's a dictionary, I guess, maybe. Let's see, what is this one? ST. Okay, so our visualization does in fact have a component ID. All right, so someplace this component, there's like a dictionary of components is my guess. And that's where I'm at right now. Is component service. And what matters really big time on this one is where it lives. So this is in services. Okay. Okay, yeah, here's where we have our viz component dictionary. And so this is where we can get our component by ID. So theoretically, we should be able to use this viz component service. So I'm hoping to leave that open for tomorrow. So I have this. I know I need to bring in the viz component service. The viz component service is a singleton that all the different things have access to, and it should never, ever, 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 ever in a million years ever inject app update layout service into itself. Um, so that's good. Um, so I should be able to inject viz component service into this service. And this is my opportunity to say words that I'm always trying to remember. It's called eager dependency resolution. Um, so I don't have to worry about eager dependency resolution causing a bug to happen between these two because this service should never ever get brought into here. And it doesn't look like it actually injects anybody. Really, that it doesn't seem like anybody would ever need anything from anybody. I think it probably gets called from the component itself. When the component gets created or deleted, it probably updates this. Um, so there's that. We also do have a bug, right? I think. Also, there's a bug, bug, bug when creating, when going to update in config view. It is really skinny. And again, this is probably something that I'll just create an issue for on the in GitHub. And then at some point in the future, if I ever run across that issue, because this is so easy to work around, right? So if I go here and then I go to this view and then go to this view and then I go back to this view, it's all skinny like that. I don't think that's really, it's so easy to work around, right? You just go, oh, wrong one, update. You literally just go like this. And I'll bet you anything, even zooming in and zooming out will fix it. So how we choose to fix that, who knows? There's probably a ton of different ways to fix that, but that's not a blocking bug. It's not a showstopper. Anyways, happy coding, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Bye.